This song is one of, I think it's the only song I've recorded more than once. It's definitely the only song I've recorded 3 times. I recorded it I wrote it in 1977, several years before I started making records. And then I finally made a record in 1982, and I put it on that record. But that album, we released a couple of singles from it that died horrible deaths high in the charts in the States, and so that album wasn't released at that time. They shelved it, canned it, as they say. And then they dropped me from the record label, and I made another record for a new record label. I got a new deal almost immediately, and made another record called Guitar Town, and that did better. So they, thanks. They, it's a few years, as soon as it was legally possible. I was never happy with the original version of this that I recorded, and as soon as it was legally possible on a record called Copperhead Road, I recorded the song a second time. And we played it that way. I like that version a lot. We played it that way for years. But just a few years ago, I was asked to record it again for a great film called Brokeback Mountain. And it was one of those deals, I think. I don't know why this never occurred to me, but I was asked to set the song in the 1970s because the movie takes place over about 25 years, and there's this scene in the 1970s where they wanted it on a jukebox, and so we went in and re-recorded it so it would be believable in that time frame, and we finally got it right because we were asked to set it in the decade it was fucking written in. So I really truly believe that. So now people used to hear this song and they say, "Oh, well, that's a gun control song," and at the time we talk about that a lot in the States because there's a lot of fucking guns out, running around loose, and now, I grew up in Texas, so I would argue with people about that. I'd say, no, that can't be a gun control song, because when I wrote this song, I had a whole trailer full of guns. It was kind of weird. It was like, and I didn't see any, it's just the culture I grew up in. There was nothing incongruous to me about having, being a peacenik with an arsenal in his house. Now, things change and evolve, hopefully, and that's the theory. And I had to start my whole life over again 17 years ago. And one of the first things that happened after I got out, got clean, got out of jail, was my ex-wife handed me an out-of-control teenage boy. You might have met him. And the first thing Justin did when he got in my house, as soon as my back was turned, he went in my room and he found the 9mm pistol that I kept loaded under my mattress, 14-shot 9mm automatic pistol. And he hid it, and he would not tell me where it was. And I was terrified. I was afraid he was going to hurt himself or somebody else because he really didn't know anything about the gun. And I knew he was lying to me. I still know when he's lying to me. And couldn't get him to fess up. So I didn't know what to do. And you're not doing your best parenting when you're 4.5, 5 months clean anyway. And I finally called my brother and had him come over. The only plan I could come up with was to make sure Justin was where the gun was not. So my brother comes over, we strip searched him, made sure he did not have the gun. Pretty big gun, it would have been hard for him to hide. And then we loaded him up in my truck. It was like kind of trying to put a live deer in your vehicle, and I'm still sore. And I drove him out to a wilderness camp, they call it, in the next county over, and that I happen to know about. And I'm not proud of it. I'm pretty sure they were hiring these kids out for slave labor to the States, and they were out there sleeping in tents. But I just didn't know what else to do, so I took him out there and I wrote him a check and dropped him off. Now, it was January, which is not summer in the States, and it was Tennessee. It's pretty cold in Tennessee. It's the South, but just barely, and it snows there, and it was snowing, and they were sleeping in tents. So 3 o'clock the next morning, he called me and told me where the fucking gun was. So for my part, what I learned is I have not had a gun in my house since, and I never will again. Now, there are people that in my country that would call that flip-flopping or something. I call it having a profound experience and changing the way that you do things. And now when I sing this song, it's a fucking gun control song. So.